All right, we are ready to go. Thank you everybody for joining us today on this webinar of how to efficiently deploy Velocity, an IP-based AV control platform. I'm joined today by Reto Spori. He's our senior sales engineer in the international market. Reto, would you like to say hello?
Hello everyone, good day. This is Reto speaking from sunny Switzerland.
Switzerland, thank you. There's a big time gap there.
Indeed, still winter.
Still winter, wonderful. So let's go ahead and get some housekeeping out of the way. Before we get started, let me review the GoToWebinar meeting control panel. You should see the attendee control panel and grab tab. The control panel contains panes that can be expanded or collapsed by clicking the plus or minus or arrow button on the left side of each pane. To ask questions, please type your questions into the questions pane. All questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. Additionally, you have the chat window where you can also send public and private messages. In today's webinar, we'll also be asking for some audience participation through the GoToWebinar polling system. The poll will automatically pop up on your screen and you'll simply select your response and click submit. Once everyone has responded, we'll share the results live on screen. Note that today's webinar is being recorded and we'll send out the link for playback once this broadcast is complete. With that, let's go ahead and jump in. So I want to do a quick test poll just to go ahead and get you familiar with that. So if you give me just a second here. Our first poll question today is, what are the key requirements? Well, I can't go back and do it. I am so sorry. So we'll go back and do a poll a little bit later. My apologies. So what is Velocity? Velocity is an AV control platform, not just for Atlona products, but for third-party products as well, in commercial AV environments ranging anywhere from individual meeting rooms to an entire campus or enterprise. The Velocity control system is fast to deploy, which we're going to see today with Rito's demo, and it's easy to edit or modify, and changes are made immediately. With its centralized IP and cloud-based architecture, all sites, all projects, or everything's located in one place. And with Velocity Cloud, you can access it from anywhere, anytime. Now, again, I want to emphasize that this is a configuration-based platform. There's no programming required. There's no programming languages to learn. So what are the components that make up Velocity? The components are comprised of 3 distinct elements that work together as a single unified platform. First, we'll talk about the Velocity Control Suite, then the Control Gateway, and the Velocity Touch Panels. So first up is the Velocity Control Suite. Velocity features an innovative network-based system architecture with scalability limited only by the IT backbone, as well as full redundancy capability that prevents AV control downtime in any room. Velocity standard features include system monitoring, intuitive mobile-friendly GUIs, secure communications, and so much more. The screen cap that you see here is actually the control suite. It's centralized online resource to create and manage AV projects by client sites, and specific locations, including rooms and floors, all from one place. Next is the Control Gateway. This is a software and IP-based control processor designed for several AV systems over a network. It's available as a server appliance, like you see here, the VGW250, or it can be hosted on a standard IT server infrastructure. The VGW250 can control up to 250 connected devices, and you can add more gateways as you grow, or you can get the standard server appliance, the software version, which falls onto your IT server infrastructure, and it can control up to 2,500 devices or 5,000 devices, depending on the license that you get. The third piece of this is the touch panels. Touch panels come in 5.5-inch and 8-inch sizes. There's a table mount that's available. It fits into a standard single gang US wall plate. Plus, Velocity also offers BYOD integration. So you can bring your own tablets, your own smartphones, even a computer, which is what we'll see with Rito's demo. You can use a computer to control your room. BYOD licenses are available in 10 devices, 50 devices, or 250 BYOD control devices. So those are your different licenses that are available. Now you do get 5 BYOD licenses with a gateway. So you can buy all your touch panels, and then you have a couple extra devices that are BYOD that you can also incorporate. So what other devices can be controlled by Velocity? So Velocity will work with current and future Atlona products that are IP controllable, as well as third-party devices. This includes displays, source devices such as Blu-ray players, and products associated with room control like lights and shades and screens. Velocity is natively an IP-based control platform. It interfaces with other protocols such as RS-232 and IR with this device here called our Velocity Control Converter. So if you have a legacy device, this is, you'd use the RS-232 kit, an IR kit, or for relay triggers, so you can control all of those different devices. Velocity, we like to say, is future-proof and legacy-friendly. So we can control all kinds of devices with this. So we actually just finished launching a huge control Velocity control course on Atlona Academy. And I'd like to ask you all a poll question. If you would like access to Atlona Academy's Velocity training, please go ahead and select it here. Would you like access to online Velocity training through Atlona Academy? If you already have access, that's awesome. If you've already taken the training, let us know. Put it in the chat window. Let us know how it went. It doesn't take very long. You can get through the training fairly quickly, and it's pretty in-depth, but there's not a lot to Velocity, so you'll probably catch on pretty quickly. So I'm going to close the poll here in just a second. It looks like the majority of you have voted, and I do want to share this because it's exciting. 65% of you want to go in and see the training. It doesn't take long to take the training, and you will get so much more in-depth information. So now that that's all done, let's go ahead and move on to Rito's portion of the presentation. Give me just 1 second to give him some controls. And give him a second to load Velocity.
Okay, thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
Can you see my Google screen?
I do.
Good. So because Velocity is an IP-based, so a software-based control system. So the gateway has a web server on it, and I start by just typing the IP address of the gateway. So the first hurdle can be, how can I find out the IP address of the gateway? Well, there is an HDMI output to the device, so you can connect a display to it and it will tell you the IP address. Or at the front panel, there are USB connectors, and you can just simply connect a USB pen drive to it, remove it after 10 seconds, and it will have written a text file with the IP address. Of course, you can also use conventional IP scanner. So my gateway is totally empty. It asked me to add a new site. So Velocity works, it starts with a site. The site can be a campus. On that campus, that can be buildings. In the buildings, there are floors. In the floors, there are rooms. And in the rooms, there is equipment. So, okay, no sites. I will add one. If I have a backup or if I want to copy paste some configuration, I can use the import function. But since my gateway is empty, I want to start from scratch. So I just give it a name. These are very basic information. Also, we have the option of giving a picture. So we have a full range of icons available. Or you can also upload your custom imagery. I just pick a skyscraper, and by saving, I create this site. So the basic site only has one building, only has one floor, and I will be prompted to start configuration of my first room. So that was a shortcut offered by the system. So for instance, if I want to work with that conference room, yes, I can add some equipment. The room is totally empty, so there is only a big plus button to it. I hit that button, and I have the option of scanning the network. So just to make sure nothing is in there, I also clear all the cache. So now I start scanning my network. What that means, this is an auto discovery MDNS protocol, or Apple calls it Bonjour, but it's pretty standard protocol. So all the Athlona devices from the latest generation, they support it. But third-party devices have to be added then manually. So let's see, now we have found an SW5000, which is the switcher I would like to show you in the configuration, and also an HDVS 200. So the SW5000 is a simple device, has 5 inputs, of which 2 can be HDBaseT, and has 2 mirrored outputs, 1 HDMI and 1 HDBaseT. So I simply add that device to my configuration. So now it's in the room. And also now I want to add sources and displays. So I go to the plus button here, which will lead me to our driver catalog or device catalog. So you see here all the different categories. There is audio devices, but also building automation like climate control. You will see lighting inside. Teleconference, let's say my first device is a teleconference codec. And probably my second device should be a DVD player, which is found here under sources. There is lots of stuff, also Apple TV, lots of devices. See the brands here. I just pick one. So now I have my switcher, 2 input devices. I'm still missing the display. So I go to displays. On displays, we have commercial and consumer TVs and computer displays. So I just pick a consumer TV. You see the long list of brands. The database should be pretty much complete, but with every firmware update, we publish new drivers, but you also have the option of make your own driver in a relatively simple process. And also you can upload individual driver via a JSON file. So again, I just add the TV here. And now starts the easy part where I configure everything together. So I start with the SW5000. I don't have to fill the control protocol because that's already been detected by auto discovery. So it's Telnet on port 23. And here are my inputs. So first thing I want to do is the Denon DVD player. I can change the name. And also I can change the icon. That's going to appear afterwards on a touch panel. I take a DVD icon. And then on HDMI 4, I will have my teleconference. Again, I just shorten a bit for simplicity. and I select a camera. So that's so far for the inputs. And now the outputs. Well, I don't want to connect to myself, but the only other option is the Philips TV. And I simply select which of the outputs I want to use. And that's the beauty of Velocity. So you don't need to program. You can simply configure with drag and drop and save that. And that's everything you need for your first room. So now here you see the control button. If I click that, my graphical user interface will be generated automatically. I have the home page of the control system. So I start a room. And here is my DVD player. I can select this. If I press on it, the transport control or the simplified remote control of the device is shown. Also, you can customize. So if you don't need the number buttons, you can simply remove them and just leave it here with the transport control, for instance. If you don't like to see that, that can also be disabled. Same goes for the teleconference system. If I click on it, the source will be shown here. But also you see the remote control of the device. So that's already your first room, and it was literally just a few minutes. You don't see any audio control here so far. You just see the selection to the screen. So now we want to add an audio device. So I go to the room editor, which is that icon here. I can also add macros, which is something you trigger automatically, or you can add event macros, which is something that happens after something else has happened. Let's say if you switch a source, then you can also dim the light or lower the screen, whatever you like. So we want to add a master audio device, and that's the button here. And again, here is my Philips TV. I scroll down to find the save button. And I go back to my user interface, and now we have the volume control here. So what we're looking at right now is another browser tab. So I have the configuration here, I have my actual user interface here. That's what we call a BYOD. So bring your own device control. In my case, it's a laptop with the browser open, but it can as well be a smartphone, a tablet that either uses the browser or uses our app that we provide for free at the Apple App Store or at the Android Play Store. If I want to add a touch panel to my system, so you see I don't have a touch panel yet, I just have these 4 devices, but I have one connected. So now I'm pressing the sync button on that touch panel, and you see the green message here. It says that a Velocity Touch Panel 800, so that's our 8-inch device, with that IP address has requested access to my system. And now I can assign it to a room. I click on the list of rooms. We only have one room, so we synchronize it with this room. And now what's happening is that the configuration is being pushed to the control panel. And now when I come back to my equipment list, I see that the device is here already. So at any time, I can remove it from the system if I like. So when we look at the GUI, it's kind of gray. A question that I being asked regularly is, but I want to customize colors. Yes, you can do that. So again, you go to the room editor. And here you already see the background can be a radial gradient from like light to dark, or I can upload my own. Let's pick this one for a moment. Again, save. And it's immediately changed in my browser window, but also on the physical touch panel. But now I lost the contrast. So the white icons are not that easy visible on a bright background. So I can also change the icons color. So you see a long list of colors. Just pick an orange one. Again, save. And now this has adapted. So next and probably last step is that we add the HDBaS 200, which is an HDBaS-T transmitter. Imagine that in that room you have the switcher close to a meeting room table, but you also have a lectern somewhere that needs an HDBaS-T connection. So I click again on the plus button. I browse down to my auto discovery section, and HDBaS 200 is already here. I add this. Also on the lectern there are additional devices, let's say a document camera and a laptop input. So I will add under the sources, there is laptops and computers. And if I want to browse for a certain camera make, I can see here, okay, it's this one I want to add. And now I configure my HDBaS 200. This is a 3-input switcher, 2 HDMI ports and 1 VGA. Again, I don't have to configure the top section. This has been filled with auto discovery. But here are my 3 inputs. So on HDMI 1, I want to use my computer. And because it's a computer input at a lectern, I call it lectern HDMI. So it's makes more sense and it's easier to find. I select an icon. And the camera also has an HDMI output. So I call it the document camera. Again, I select an icon. And the VGA, you can still use it even if you don't configure an equipment here, but you can still enable the VGA input in case of somebody is arriving with a legacy device. So we call it lectern VGA. So that was the inputs. And now the output of the HDBaS 200 is an HDBaS-T connection, which goes to the first HDBaS-T of the SW5000. I simply select that and save, and that's it. So when I go back now to my GUI, I see that I have more sources. I can also now flip between the DVD, which we had previously, the teleconference, and now there is the lectern HDMI. Obviously, there is no remote control. Also, same goes for the VGA, but for the document camera, there is also a user interface. So that's pretty much it. I think that was the most important steps for the velocity control system. I hope that gave you a good overview, and I give back to Erika to ask some, or better yet, to answer some of your questions.
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw a couple questions your way because we just reviewed them. Somebody was asking if you can have a custom logo on your control panel. And would you like to answer that? I mean, it's fairly simple.
You mean not on the display side, but on the frame, so kind of a printed logo. We just made the first step that we removed our own logo so that there was a Velocity logo on the panel, but we have it removed to make room for your own logo if it's a sticker.
Yeah, but you can also put it on the control panel itself as a background image, as long as it's just
yes,
customize that background to be your logo or whatever image you choose.
Yes, so the background, as I've just uploaded now, was a JPEG or a PNG file, but that can actually be anything.
Okay, awesome. On the remote, I think is the question, can the size of the buttons be changed? Or is that the size of the buttons on the control panel?
Yeah, so right now the buttons are automatically generated by the system. In a few weeks, we will have the graphical designer, which is a plugin in the Velocity software, so that it's not an extra thing. It's not something you have to pay for, but that will allow, yeah, more graphical options to change the buttons and the shapes and the positioning. Right now, what I can do is I have here now the sources on top and the display on the bottom. If I like to have it the other way around, I just flip the switch here and I save it. And now the drag and drop is from the bottom to the top. So if I like to change the source, I can also drag and drop. That's important if you have more than one display. If you only have one display, it's enough if you just click a source. But if you have more, then you would like to have a drag and drop in order to address the correct display.
Okay, and what do the room on and off buttons do?
That basically switches all devices that are in that room. So if you have a projector and a television and a DVD player, it's like an automated macro that runs in the background. You can exclude or include any of the device into the on and off macro. There is also a wait timer you can define. If you have high power consuming devices like a video wall, you don't want to switch them all at the same moment, but you can have like a 1 or 2 second delay in between.
Awesome. There seems to be a lot of question too about the licenses and BYOD licenses. So I want to touch on that real quick. Now, if you have just a small office and you only want to use BYOD control devices, you can do that with, you know, either the 5 that come with the gateway or the 10 device licenses. If you have a larger scale campus, you can, you know, do the 250 devices. Every time a device is registered on the network and assigned to a room, that is taking up a license. At any time though, any of those can be taken off or swapped, or maybe at the end of the day, you do a factory reset, or, you know, for your team that maybe walks around and needs to have control of all of these rooms. That can be a roaming device. It's just assigned to that room when it's registered. Now, the touch panels are not included in those BYOD devices at all. Each touch panel has its own, we'll call it a license, but it's not a license. It's its own ability to stand with the gateway side by side. They're made to work together, so you don't need to buy anything additional after you've bought those touch panels in the 5.5 or the 8-inch touch panel. Someone else asked how it integrates with other companies like an Extron or Crestron AMX. If you can code a touch panel that's already existent to browse to the gateway, because really you're just accessing control from the gateway through a web interface, then I don't see why not.
Yeah, for what concerns touch panels, I had that same question also in retrofit. So they already have a ready programmed control system from one of those brands, but they want to add another room with Atlona Velocity. So what they need is an IP interface or a control interface between two control systems. We didn't do it so far, but as long as it's IP, it can be done. We just have to write a driver. You tell us what exactly you want. We also have a driver request form, which is available from our website. Yeah, or the easiest would be probably a GPIO. So then it's also in terms of troubleshooting, it's very easy. Is the contact open or closed? And then you know what's going on.
Yeah. So another question that keeps coming up is, does this have to sit on the client's network? What about federal agencies that don't permit you to be on their network? Can you answer that for me?
Yeah, I think the question is manifold. So an IP control system has to be on the network, otherwise you cannot control anything. But the question might have been, do we need internet access or cloud access? So because on our website, if you have looked at Velocity, you will also see the cloud access, but the gateway itself is on premise. So that's at the customers. It don't need to be online or no connection to the internet needed. But for those of you that are integrators, they might be interested in have your client connected to the cloud, so you can also access their system in case they want to change the color of a button and they will call you. You don't have to go there. You can just change the color of the button from your office. So you have more options to control your customers' installations, but that's optional.
Okay, great. So someone else is asking about the discrete commands. How does the system handle displays without a discrete power or input command?
I think that's rather the exception, hopefully. We can only work with commands that are provided from a manufacturer. We have the ability to learn infrared commands for some devices, like semi-professional devices. The remote control might only have a toggle button like power, and it will switch on and off in a toggle mode. But then you can get from the manufacturer or from an internet community the discrete power commands, and we can add them to our system. So, but maybe why not take a minute to look at the equipment. So let's see, that's a projector. I just take this as an example. I go to commands because this is an infrared control device. So here is a list of all the commands we have, like lamp toggle, mute toggle, and that is the discrete infrared command. So you can delete that, you can change that, you can add new commands. That's here on the bottom. So a new command. That's how you can edit the driver on your own. You don't necessarily have to have the manufacturer or Atlona send you a driver. You can actually do it on your own.
Right. So let's go with one last question here. We do have a lot of questions about integration with a lot of other companies. So that's something that we can address later. And if you've said that you do want access into Atlona Academy, there's a lot of information there on how to integrate with third-party DSPs and whatnot. And you can see the full list of drivers there. So my last question here is, what does the user interface and the control look like when you have multiple displays using something like a CLSO 824?
Yeah, there is a drag and drop. So I will quickly switch the gateway into a gateway that we have here in a real life environment. So in our training room, we actually have a projector and a display. So that's a display and that's a projector, and we have 4 sources. So we just drag and drop that source to that display, and you drag and drop the other source to the other display. Oh, that source isn't live. Okay. But that's the idea. Awesome. So you get here a long list of sources, and you get, yeah, probably a long list of devices. And then it's not just a click, because then the system will not know what you want to do, but it's a drag and drop.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to offer this final poll. There's a lot of people who want to talk more about integration, and they have very specific questions to their needs. So this particular poll is, would you like to schedule a personal Velocity demonstration? This would be a small group of people, maybe 15 people. It allows you to ask all of your questions, and you're able to interact directly with the person showing you a demo. And they can build it up the way that you have your system requirements. So we're going to give you a few more seconds here to answer this. And actually, while this is going, I'm also going to put a link here in the chat window. If it'll let me.
Maybe I'm still the presenter.
Nope, you're good.
Okay.
So there's a link in the chat window where you can request a demo directly also. Please feel free to click that and fill out that form, and we'll be able to get back with you quickly. Also, if you
Yeah,
fill this out,
I see it.
we'll
Yeah,
get in
I
touch
see it.
with you anyway. Okay, that's all that we have for today. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you need to get in contact with Rito or myself, we are available. You can also visit us online at atlona.com. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email us at training@atlona.com. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a
Thank
great
you
day.
very much. Bye bye.
Thank you.